people are God's chosen people. That's why they're naturally spiritual. That's why they're overlooked. That's why they're copied across the whole planet Earth.
Anybody else notice that you can be 100% black, but you could never be 100% white? When I say black, I just mean Homo sapien. I just mean human. Black people, African people, are the only people in the world, in the entire world, that are 100% Homo sapiens, never mixed with any Neanderthal blood. This is the reason why if I take a DNA test, or any other white person does, they are going to have a percentage of African in them. Now, if an Asian person or a Native American person takes a DNA test, it could just say 100% Asian, 100% Native American. But that's because DNA tests only go back a couple thousand years, which means two things. White people were black 2,000 years ago. We were African, and it wasn't that fucking long ago. And two, that means 2,000 years ago, there were Asian people. There were Native American people. We can prove that. But if you go back tens of thousands of years, if you go back even further, even they will have the common ancestor, which is the African. This is why I believe white supremacy is fucking stupid. You're proud of something that could never be 100% achieved. There's no such thing as a 100% pure blood European. Everybody was mixed with Neanderthal and Denisovan DNA, except for black people. African people are the only true humans in this world.
Next layer is realizing that there is no escaping the consequences of your history, and realizing that those consequences are in fact being imposed upon you right now, especially in America, but in Europe too. I mean, look at Europe. It's falling apart. Europe is falling apart. They're going extinct, and even their own natural extinction isn't fast enough for them. They're rushing towards war and conflict on the continent. Macron just told hospitals in France that they need to be ready for a European war by next year. War with Russia. They're tearing their own societies apart. They're impoverishing themselves. They're enslaving themselves. They're deindustrializing themselves. They're being asset stripped. Exactly what they did to the people that they colonized. Europe is tumbling into the abyss of their own making. But America, the imperial heir of Europe, the neoliberal economic firing squad of corporate power, they used to spray their bullets like a mass shooter all across the global south, all across the Muslim world, all across Africa, all across so-called Latin America. Well, America is descending into madness. You're descending into madness because you're cursed. That's why I've said you cannot properly analyze geopolitics. You cannot properly analyze geopolitics if you exclude the reality of divine justice. You cannot exclude God from your assessments. You can't exclude Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from your forecasts. And you cannot be as unjust, as brutal, as degenerate, as wicked as America has been, and actually think that the consequences are not going to be severe. You understand? The suffering of whole continents at your hands is going to ricochet back onto America. I said you're cursed. You know it and I know it. That's the truth. We both know this. Because you can't have any sort of religious sense, any religious sense of justice, and not know that. Even if you call yourself a Christian, if you call yourself believing in God in any way whatsoever, you cannot pretend that you don't know that America is cursed, and it has been cursed ever since you all landed over there in the first place and started massacring the indigenous people and stealing their land. What your Zionist brigades are doing to the Palestinians right now is just a fraction of what you did to the Native Americans.
So I just want to start off by saying that I feel really weird doing this video, but I have to because last night God came to me and it's a lot. And I remembered I remembered everything as God was explaining this to me. So God explained to me that Black people are the chosen people. Why? Because Black people have had to stand up to authorities more than anyone. And if you think about what that means, standing up to authorities isn't really fighting them. It's telling them, hey, like, you're not treating me right. You're not above me, right? It's another way of saying God created all of us equally. And that's the truth. If you think about it, the government authorities, they're not above you. They're just playing a role. They're wearing a costume. But true freedom, which is what we were created with, is such that everyone is on an equal playing field. If you removed the systems, the government, we're all equal. No one is above you. No one is below you. And so that's why Black people are the chosen people, because they've had to do that more than anyone. And what else was I shown? Man, there was so much, you guys. But they showed me why Black people love Jesus is because Jesus doesn't need praise. Jesus just came as a messenger, as God, to tell people that Black people are the chosen people. Basically, Jesus came here to tell the people. He didn't want any credit. He just wanted to tell people Black people are the chosen people. So, yeah, I remembered all of this last night, and it was a lot. But that's what's happening today. Sorry, there's one more thing that God told me last night that I almost forgot. God told me that Jesus's soul is like black. It's like a black person. Because Jesus stands up to authorities too. And so the soul of Black people and the soul of Jesus is the same. And so Jesus comes as a messenger to tell the people, trust me, I don't know why I'm the one getting this information, but Jesus comes to tell the people that Black people are the chosen ones. That their soul is the closest thing to God, because God wants people to know that they're free, that that's their birthright, that your birthright is to stand up to authorities and be like, hey, you're not above me. We're brothers. Like, we're the same. We're equals. So yeah, that's all. I love you.
What Hitler did was a fraction of what you did, in fact. And you really think that you were going to be able to escape the consequences of that? Of course not. Obviously not. Why do you even think for a minute that you could escape the consequences of decimating millions upon millions of people? To think that you would get away with that, wallahi, to even think that you could get away with that, to even think that you would never be held accountable for that is blasphemy. It's blasphemous for you to think that you could get away scot-free, especially when you have never even done anything ever since then except to compound the wrongdoing and to add to your record of crimes. You understand me? You have done nothing to atone. You haven't done anything to atone for what you have done. You and I both know that. Genocide, chattel slavery, rape, torture, lynching, murder, dehumanization, discrimination, segregation, exploitation, subjugation, war all around the world. Why, what sort of a God do you worship that would turn a blind eye to all of that? What kind of a God did you have in mind when you say God bless America? Because I know you're not talking about the God. I know you're not talking about the creator of the universe. Bless America for what? Bless America for what? If you did what you did and then say God bless America, that's just another blasphemy. Well, you're taking the Lord's name in vain when you say God bless America. That's the truth. You can't invoke God to bless what he has prohibited. You can't invoke God to bless what he punishes, to bless what causes his wrath. You have been worshiping someone else entirely, something else entirely. You have taken a whole other being as your God if you actually think that your actions merit any sort of blessing. No one would bless what you have done as a nation except Iblis. No one would approve of what you have done except for the devil himself. That's why I told you that, and why you need to know. You need to understand this about your society. The West has been worshiping the jinn. They've been worshiping the shayateen ever since prehistory, like I said. And that formed the whole character, the whole ethos of their so-called civilization. You can't properly understand the West if you don't understand that. Honestly, you can't be dismissive about that. And like I said last time, this is in fact exactly why they are almost the only people in the whole world who pretend that the devil doesn't exist. They're almost the only people. They're the only people. The people in the Muslim world, the people in Africa, the people in Latin America, the people in Asia, everyone knows this is real. Even in places like Russia and China, after decades of state-imposed atheism, most people there even also still accept this reality. Different people in different places call the jinn different things, sure. Demons, ghosts, fairies, spirits, whatever the case may be. But we know the reality. We know the reality of the unseen. But your so-called civilization insists on denying it. Exactly the same way that they deny everything else that's true about reality, that's true about themselves. Well, their denial is conspicuous in this way. It's a protective, defensive denial. Because no one else is more closely aligned, in fact, and more subservient to the shayateen as much as your society. So that denial is part of what is expected of you. That's part of the cover-up that is expected of you. And that's just par for the course with you, because anyway, you cover up everything already as it is. Now listen, again, I'm not attacking you. Understand me. Please understand me. If your house is on fire and I come to tell you that your house is burning and you need to get out, are you going to get defensive because you think I'm insulting your house? Use your mind. There's a poison gas leak in your building, and your building manager is trying to tell you that everything is fine, and I'm trying to tell you that it's going to kill you. You tell me which one of us, me or that manager, cares more about you and more about your welfare and your well-being. Don't get mad at me. Well, I think that the gas has already gotten to your brain if you can't think straight enough to know that I'm trying to tell you something for your own good. Look, I'm telling you, there is no way to escape the consequences. Okay, I didn't do this to you. Your ancestors did this to you. Your own ancestors did this to you. Your ancestors and your leaders today, your media today, your schools today. Like I said, recognizing and acknowledging the reality of what your ancestors really did and what they really were, and yes, who they really worshiped, understanding that is just the first layer. And as soon as someone accepts this reality, that layer, they just accept that. Then they'll jump immediately to, well, how do we make a change? I'm not like my ancestors. Isn't that good enough? How do we make a change so that we can avoid these negative consequences? Because they haven't accepted that second layer, that most important second layer, which is that the consequences cannot be avoided, cannot be evaded, cannot be resisted, and cannot be defied. The punishment is already underway in America. And like I said, at least one element of that punishment is madness. The society is being driven into madness, just like the syphilitic monarchs of your history. I don't even mean this metaphorically. No, I'm talking quite literally. The society is going insane. I mean, look at any old film clip. I don't mean old Hollywood movies. I don't mean that. I mean, like, look at old interviews, old footage of people talking like in, say, the early 1900s, for example. Listen to them. Listen to how they talk. Listen to the clarity and listen to the sobriety of their voices and their facial expressions. Now open TikTok. Open Instagram. Well, if you took someone from 2025 and you send them back to 1925, no matter what they were talking about, everyone would think that they are drunk. Everyone would think that these were mad people, unhinged, unstable, volatile, wild people. Even 50 years ago, they would have that impression. Do you know that according to the previous mental health standards, at least half of the American public today, at least half would be diagnosed as mentally having a mental illness or psychological disorder. And I mean, even according to the modern standards, it's not far from that. Roughly a quarter of all Americans have been diagnosed with some sort of a psychological or mental disorder, and about half of all young people. And I'm telling you, this is the toll of your history. That's what this is. This is the devil taking his due. Don't you know your own folklore? Don't you know about the devil taking payment in the form of your progeny? Those stories don't come out of nowhere. It's the story of your so-called civilization. Your ancestors sold you out for the sake of pomp and splendor in their day. They sold you out so they could sip their mint julep tea on the veranda of some great plantation house in the American South, while human beings were being whipped and being raped and being treated like animals. They sold you out so that they could have their steal their land and have their homesteads and their farms and their ranches soaked in the blood of Native Americans. They sold you out so that they could have the minerals and the oil and the gas and the gold and the diamonds from all around the world, from all around the global South, when colonized people were the ones digging those resources out of the earth for them, and then they themselves got buried in those same holes. That was the bargain. That was the deal that your ancestors made. You know, everyone thinks or everyone says that America was built on stolen land by stolen labor. Yes, but I'm telling you that there's no such thing as stolen land. There's no such thing as stolen labor. There's only borrowed land. There's borrowed labor, and eventually you're going to have to pay for it. And your payment is coming due. There's no fix. Because when you think about trying to fix things, what you really mean is trying to figure out how to put off the inevitable consequences, and that's not going to happen. You can forget about that. You can't vote your way out. You can't policy your way out. You can't march or protest your way out. You can't virtue signal your way out. You can't even reparations your way out. The bill is due, and payment will be taken one way or another. And as I say, payment is already being taken right now. I'm telling you, the fate of America is sealed. And it was sealed over 400 years ago. You're just now reaching the end of that contract. You know, I said some time ago that Trump was actually hated in America and Europe during his first administration, everyone knows. But he was actually popular in the global South. Around the rest of the world, people liked Trump. Arabs liked him, Asians, Africans, South Americans generally. Generally speaking, he was actually popular with the countries in the global South. Even China likes him, despite the performative rivalry. And I'll tell you why. Because we all recognize that he is the embodiment of the devil's due. Trump being appointed over the United States signaled to the rest of us the end of American empire. Now, don't blame him for that. Like I said, it isn't happening because of Trump. Trump just proves that it's happening. Trump is just a big orange final notice for payment due. That's what he is. And he's overseeing the dismantling of the American-centric world order. The walls are closing around America. And the demons are descending down into those, between those walls to loot and to pillage anything and everything and anyone and everyone in that land. And I'm not saying this spitefully, and I'm not saying it hatefully, and I'm not trying to rub it in, and I'm not trying to gloat. You understand? I'm not trying to insult you, but you need to understand this was always going to happen, and they have not prepared you for it. They have lied to you about what's going on. They've lied to you about your country. They lied to you about your history. They lied to you about who they are. They lied to you about what they are. They lied to you about how they have been, so that you couldn't see what was coming. You couldn't see this coming. In fact, most of you still can't see it coming, even though it's upon you already. And that's unfair. To me, I find that unfair. It's unfair to you. It's unjust to you. It's treacherous.
Okay, so this might hurt some feelings, but guess what? The Black people living in the Americas are the chosen people of God. Shalom. My name is Ronette Brooks, and before I get started, I want to say all praises to the Most High. I am a Gentile, and it is very important because I know that Israelites that are in the truth and know who they are going to be hearing my voice. This is not about me, but I do want you to know enough about me that you can know a small piece of my heart. I have known who so-called African Americans are in the United States since 2019. The Most High allowed me to know that they were the tribe of Judah. I've learned since then that it might be some Benjamites in there and some Levites, but all I want to say is I am here with a humble heart, and I am infinitely in awe because I know that I'm speaking to the light of the world. And I believe all this stuff, and I've believed it since 2019. So I want to talk about two ways that we describe blacks in this country. And I also want to say to the Israelites, I'm going to use your book. I'm not going to teach your book, but I'm going to use your book just to talk about identity. I love the word, but I also know that it's not for me to teach.
Welcome back to the channel, and thank you for always staying tuned. Thank you for always stopping by to watch each and every of our video. We appreciate every one of you. Let's get back to today's business. A white professor in person of Said Bossen has said Black people were chosen by God. The professor has sparked a powerful conversation after making a remarkable statement about Black people and their place in history. According to his argument, the extraordinary resilience shown by Black community through centuries of slavery, segregation, discrimination, and hardship cannot simply be ignored. He believed the ability to preserve culture, family, and faith, and identity through generation of adversity is something deeply significant. But this message can raise an even bigger question. Can people resilience reveal something about their purpose? Of course, the idea that Black people were specially chosen by God is a matter of faith and interpretation, not something that can be scientifically proven. Different religions have different understanding of divine purpose. Still, the present message has people reflecting on an undeniable part of history. Black communities have repeatedly demonstrated remarkable strength in the face of enormous challenges. And perhaps the most important lesson is about recognizing resilience. because surviving hardship, segregation, intimidation, preserving your identity, and continuing to build despite adversity is a powerful human achievement. Black history is not only a story of suffering, it is a story of surviving, creativity, courage, and extraordinary resilience. If you enjoyed this commentary, like this video, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for more powerful discussion about history, culture, faith, society, event, economy, about African diaspora. Tell us in the comments, do you believe resilience can be a sign of a deeper purpose? Thank you. See you in the next video.